as best you can, because I know these judicial races are a little different, I guess what would be sort of your platform for this position?
Gotcha. I'm running for 10th Division Juvenile Court, which is one of the 6 seats coming open. And so I'm running in order to help kids and to help families and to make the world a better place and put kids on the right path and be out in the community and hope they don't come into court. But if they come into court, then do the best we can to help them and help families and keep them out of court and make society better.
This is going to be only one of 2 now, because I know we're losing one juvenile.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So that's that workload
Yes.
just went up a little bit.
It did. It's going to January the 1st. So hopefully it's me and I'm ready for it.
All right. I guess too, go over some of the basic differences between the juvenile court and adult court.
Mm-hmm. Differences, everything is basically statutorily driven in juvenile court, and so a lot of the cases that would be heard would be dependency, neglect, juvenile delinquency. The court would handle some adoptions, and so 10th Division, the court that I'm running for, does Safe Babies team, and they do some other things that have been implemented by the current judge who's sitting there now, who happens to be my mom, who's one of the judges who's going to have to retire, and so there's great things going on in that court, and so I'd like to help continue that trend.
I guess with it being moms, you don't want to throw her under the bus too much, but
right.
Is there anything that you'd want to kind of change up from what she's doing now?
I would actually, and I've sat down in the duration of this candidacy and campaigning and talked to various judges about their courts and what they do, and so 10th Division has great things going on, and her court's been nationally recognized as one of the juvenile courts and basically how to do things. But the way the world goes, and this technology is always evolving, so I would like to stay on top of technology and implement the best technology that comes through. Always implement best practices on how to run a court, so I'd always be willing to look at that and do that, and that would be any court. Any judge needs to do that. And then what I would like to do, and I actually found this out, is the juvenile courts used to meet with the superintendents of the school districts, and then for whatever reason that kind of fell through. And so that's something that I would like to bring back, should I be elected, is implement meetings, whether it be monthly or quarterly, with superintendents of the Little Rock School District, North Little Rock, Jacksonville, and then jurisdiction covers Perry County. So I'd also like to do that and just basically get everybody on the same page and see, can things be handled in schools, because sometimes, and this, things get referred to court that don't need to be referred to court. And so, like, for instance, if a kid got in a fight in 5th or 6th grade, instead of the school handling it, they send it to court. And so sometimes it shouldn't be like that. And so sometimes things come into court and they shouldn't be in the court, so you could cut down on some things that are coming into court that really don't need to be there.
Do those kind of cases do they kind of bog things down?
They could, if they come in, you'd have to look at every case and be fair and impartial and follow the law and all that. But, for instance, and I read about this in some jurisdiction, it wasn't here, but a kid did that to a teacher. And so they ended up arresting the kid and sending the kid to a juvenile court. And so that becomes a case. And so that could bog down a court system, yes.
I guess just give us a little background on John Q. Warren.
Yes, I am born here. I'm 47. I'm married to my wonderful wife, Courtney. I have a 7-year-old Quentin, so I'm an active parent, which I think would help me be a better judge, because I'd be actively parenting and learning things and being around his friends and kids. Spent 3 months of my life in Houston, Texas, and 3 months of my life in Memphis as a baby, so I don't remember that. So all of my formative years have been in Little Rock, product of the Little Rock School District. I'm a proud graduate of Little Rock Central High School. I finished high school, stayed here, went to college at UALR. I majored in radio, TV, and film. And so thought I wanted to go to film school and thought I was going to do something with that. Majored in English writing, liked to write a lot. And so ended up working at Channel 7 in the newsroom and did video editing there for 7 years. And law school had always kind of called me. And so I came and followed the call, and in fall of 2001, I started law school, and I worked during the day for 4 years and went to school at night. So I'm no stranger to hard work. Been doing it my whole life, but especially my legal career. Finished law school in 2005, passed the bar, 2006 was a judicial law clerk for the now retired Justice Annabelle Tuck. So I learned from her firsthand on how to be, fair, compassionate, ethical. And as she always put it, you have to get it right. We always have to get it right. And so that's a mantra that I like to live by, especially, as an attorney. But if you're a judge, you have to get it right, especially when you're talking about kids and families. And so learned a lot from her. Left there, went to the prosecuting attorney's office where I worked for 5 years there. Worked in Sherwood District Court, Little Rock District Court, 2nd Division in front of Judge Piazza, 1st Division in front of Leon Johnson, 5th Division in front of Wendell Griffin. Learned a lot there, handled a lot of different kind of criminal cases and made sure that the system ran right and people got treated fairly. And so that's one thing I pride myself on, is I've never treated anybody unfairly. And when I lay my head on my pillow at night, I have to know that I've done the right thing every day and I can sleep well because I've treated people fairly. And so I think if anybody asks anybody I worked with or any defense attorneys or public defenders or anybody in the court staff, they would tell you Jonathan Q. Warren is about as fair as they come. And so that's the quality that a judge has to have. Left the prosecutor's office, went to the attorney general's office, where I worked in the civil division for about 4 years, handled inmate litigation cases, handled a racial discrimination fair housing case, which I think was the first of its kind to be filed in a circuit court in Miller County and Texarkana, and so we got that resolved. Handled claims commission cases for the state, so I got to be the face of the state when claims would be filed at the claims commission, and special cases if law enforcement or firefighters or certain people got killed in the line of duty, then I was the face of the state to make sure that the families got the benefits that were entitled to them. So I took that very seriously, because when you've got family members who, are there because their spouses got killed in the line of duty, that's a heavy burden. And so I was honored to be that person to be able to do that. Got to write a lot of briefs for the Arkansas Supreme Court, for the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals. Got to argue at the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals in St. Louis, so that was one of my honors. Did a whole bunch of cases there, learned a lot. So I know criminal law, I've done civil law, and then got the opportunity to work at Rainwater, Holt & Sexton, where I've been there for the past almost 4 years, be 4 years in June. And so doing personal injury work. And so I have dealt throughout my legal career with people of all walks of life, all stations of life, wherever they come from. I treat people the same, and so I would be no different as a judge. And so I believe I've got the best range of legal experience and life experiences. I grew up between 19th and Pine and 20th and Pine here in Little Rock, early 90s, so banging in Little Rock. So I'm not, unfamiliar with gunshots and drive-bys and gang banging. And so, while a judge has to be fair and impartial and follow the law and follow the judicial code of ethics, a great judge also has to understand where people come from and circumstances and things like that. And so all of that package makes Jonathan Q. Warren the best person and the most uniquely qualified person for this position. And I'm ready to jump in day one and start working.
We've noticed too, and you kind of touched on this a little bit, but I want you to elaborate on just that element of compassion that it seems to be coming through in the bench a lot more here in the past few years. All kinds of cases. It's not just you broke the law, this is what the law says happens, throw the book at them.
Right.
It seems that there's a lot more compassion, a lot more empathy. You kind of mentioned that, but what do you want to bring of that to the table, and especially in that juvenile court?
Okay, good question. Just the type of person I am and how my parents raised me to be compassionate and fair and ethical and treat people how you want to be treated. Just the golden rule, period, is how people should act across the board, but especially as a judge and especially in a juvenile court. You have to be compassionate and you have to understand where folks come from and kind of put yourself in their shoes, especially when you're going to be carrying a court where you're serving the people, where your goal is to keep families together, keep kids together, because nobody wants to break up kids and families. And so my job, should I be elected, is to help kids and help families. And I want to be the judge who gets to be there and cry because a kid gets adopted, and I get to see that. And I know there are going to be days where I'm going to go home and cry because of the horrible things that you hear about abuse and neglect. So I've got the empathy. I've been raised correctly. and by my parents who have taught me all the values that I need for the job. I'm an Eagle Scout. I'm a hard worker. And so a lot of my scouting days, the scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. All of that just makes me the person that I am. And so I'm already that compassionate person. And so I would be no different on the bench. I would just get to wear a black robe and do right.
It seems too that people just don't get into the judicial races the same way they do, legislative or any executive race. Why do you think that is?
That's a hard question, and part of it, and this is just my humble opinion, I think part of it is apathy. I think a lot of people just either they don't know or they don't care. And so thank you for doing these interviews, first of all. And so there's 6 judicial seats that are open. And so this cycle is a little bit different because you've got 6 judges who are retiring. And so a lot of people in a lot of different organizations are doing great things to have forums, have interviews so people can know. And so I was just talking about this off camera, but there are still people as recently as yesterday who I've come across who don't know that there's an election that's Tuesday. And so part of our job in running for office is to educate people and say, hey, there are elections, there's 6 judges coming open and there are 2 different sub-districts. So it's not just me, and all of these seats are important. But that's a hard question. I think part of it's apathy. I think a lot of it too is just people may not just know, and people all across the board, and even attorneys I know who are in the legal field don't know. So I don't know the ultimate answer to that, but I think part of it is some people don't care, and then it's like the old joke that's a bad joke, but it's a joke. Most people don't like attorneys until you need one, and so I shouldn't say most people, some people, they just don't know. And then you've got district courts, circuit courts, courts of appeals, Supreme Courts, and it gets all mixed together. And so, it's getting better though. It's getting better. We'll just see how voter turnout is. So everybody please get out and vote. Early vote goes on now. Election day is Tuesday, March 3rd.
Let's go.
Yes.
What do you think the role of the bench should be, and especially in juvenile court, of kind of just being out there? Whether it be just community stuff, and I know as a judge you kind of have to maintain that level of separation. But what do you think that the role should be for judges to kind of just be out there, be seen in the community, stuff like that?
You need to be, and as a juvenile judge, you're actually charged with being out in the community because you've got to let people know services that you need to help kids. So whether I'm the person who gets elected, and I hope it's me, or whether somebody else gets elected to 10th Division, we can't do this by ourselves. So it's going to have to be a communal effort. So you have to be out there and let community leaders know, okay, here's services we need to help kids. Here's some things that we do. Can I partner with you? Would you be willing to help? And throughout my candidacy, I have already met with law enforcement leaders, community leaders, clergy members, business folks, because I've put it out there already like, hey, here's some things that I would like to do. Would you be willing to help? Some people are like, yeah, I'm all in. Other people are like, well, hey, talk to this person or talk to this person. Another thing that I want to do, Boy Scouts is huge with me. And so I've already put this out. I'm on the Boy Scout board as well, the Executive Boy Scout board. And so I've talked to a couple of people on the board. I want to bring back Boy Scouts into the black community. And so that's a thing I want to do. When I became an Eagle Scout in 1987, there were about 33, somewhere between 30 and 33 black troops. Majority black troops in the now defunct Community Services District, and so I've had the numbers looked up. Majority black troops now are maybe 3, and so in a 30-year swing, we've gone from 30 plus to around 3. It may take 30 years to get it back, but that's part of what I want to do, because you have to have something for kids to do after school. Meaningful things, kids to be involved. You have to have parent involvement, school involvement, church, law enforcement, everybody. So yes, a judge needs to be out in the community, and especially as a juvenile judge, to let people know, hey, here's what we need, I'm here. But at the same time, if somebody comes before your court, you've got to be impartial, follow the law and all that. But part of the reason too that a juvenile judge, especially in 10th Division, should I be elected, people need to see me, and they need to see what I look like and what my skin color is. And people know, hey, if he can do that, I can do that. And so education is big with me. And so I tell people when I talk, especially kids, Don't let anybody ever tell you what you can or cannot do, because that's a lie. So just put your mind to it. You know, you need help, family support, community support. It's all a village, but as my mother says, it has to be a village of competent people and people who care, because if it's a village of people who don't care, it's not going to help anything. But I mean, yeah, you have to be out there and people have to see you and people have to know that you care and you're not just talking about it.
And what role do you think that judges ought to play in just, I guess, some of the basic education on, excuse me, you know, like, this is how the law works.
Mm-hmm.
You know, obviously not giving legal advice, but
Right.
it's like, here's kind of the procedures. You know, if you have to go down this road, here's kind of what you need.
Right.
Go down this other one, it's a little different. You know,
Right.
kind of that sort of thing.
Are you talking about like in the court itself or just in
Or just
general?
in general, yeah, either way.
You know, you can't ever give legal advice.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm on the Arkansas Access to Justice Board too, and so Arkansas is one of the states with the least amount of attorneys per capita per the state.
Yeah.
And so I'm big on letting people know, you know, hey, here's where you go to do this, or here's who you call to do this, especially in my line of work now, because people who I represent in personal injury cases have other legal issues that we can't help them on. But I'm all about, hey, we'll call this person and ask for them and tell them this is what you need, just like I would tell anybody. I mean, you can't cross the line and represent them. But if I'm elected as a judge, part of what I want to do, and 10th Division already does this, is explain what's going on in court. Because most people who are in court, you don't want to be there in the first place. They're carrying a lot of trauma. They're bringing trauma into the court. Court itself is a traumatic experience, and so especially if somebody is a self-represented litigant, you need to explain to them, hey, here's what's going on, here's why we do this. And so even when I was a deputy prosecutor, for example, when I was in Sherwood District Court, when people would represent themselves, if I had an exhibit, I would show the person on the other side the exhibit and say, okay, here's this, and you get to look at this, and if you have an objection to this, then you need to tell the judge you have an objection and why, and then the judge is going to get to explain to you, you know, the ruling as to whether your objection is overruled or sustained or whatever. And so, you know, I'm just big on fairness, and so I want everybody to know what's going on, and I'm transparent, and I've been transparent in my campaign, and I've been doing this, and some people think I'm crazy for doing this, but my cell phone number is 501-786-0633, 501-786-0633. So anybody who's watching this, if you have a question about me or why you should vote for me, please call me or text me, and I will respond.
Kind of that Mike Jones.
Exactly.
And I guess finally, too, we'll kind of just sort of wrap it up into sort of a nice, clean ball here. I guess if I'm a voter out here that just doesn't know anything here, why should I vote for Jonathan Q. Warren?
First and foremost, I'm a very humble person, but being humble and running for office does not line up a lot. So being humble, I'll say this. I am the best candidate for the job, period. I'm ready to work. I'm a hard worker. I'm no stranger to hard work. I've worked hard all my life, especially through law school, working and going at night. And throughout my legal career, I'm fair, I'm ethical, I'm compassionate. I have all the legal experience plus some that is required to be this judge. I have all the life experiences. I'm a husband, I'm a parent, I'm a son. I will have all of the resources in place to jump in and continue the great work that 10th Division is doing, and I bring my own experience to the table, which I think is the best, and so that's why you should vote for me. I want the job. There's nothing glamorous about it. I've had basically a front row seat my entire life to see what judges do in various capacities of my life. I've had a front row seat, and so I know what the job entails, and there's nothing glamorous about it, and it's going to be hard work, especially with that third judge going away to do a different set of cases. So there are going to be 2 juvenile judges. The work is hard. It's going to be sad. It's going to weigh on you. It's going to be emotional. I've seen what it entails and what it requires, and I'm ready for it, and I'm humbly and respectfully asking everybody to vote for me because I know what it takes. I have what it takes. I want it and I'm ready. And that's why you should vote for Jonathan Q. Warren for 10th Division Circuit Judge. Early vote goes on right now. Election day is March the 3rd, so please vote for me and you will not be sorry that you did.